Happy Friday and welcome back to the NOFO Live Show, where I, Sunita, along with my two co-hosts, Tracy from Miss Tracy Kessler and Kelly from NOFO Endless Summer, we hop on every Friday and talk about everything North Fork. It is a gray, rainy, but super warm day on the North Fork, so that's your weather update. But what I really want to talk about is building your immune system. I feel like, I don't know if it's post-COVID or post-Lyme, no matter what bug is on, I seem to catch it easily. Now I have a sore throat for the last few days that I can't seem to shake. So I'm trying to incorporate some kind of immune building practices. So share with me, what do you guys take that helps? I'm not a big pill swallower. I have issues. I have a gag reflex. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a brain thing. I don't want to take horse pills. But I know that zinc, which my husband bought, but it's a giant horse pill that I refuse to take. It's supposed to help. I've heard things about elderberry syrup, but I've never really tried it. Don't know if it actually works. So comment, tell me what you take that's easy to take. That's something that you can take every day, but it really does work. I know there's, especially in winter, I know there's a lot of different for the last couple of days just to soothe my throat, and now these
Good morning. How are you?
Morning.
I am good.
How are you?
How are you feeling?
Good. I'm doing better, but I can't get rid of my sore throat. It just hurts so much to the point where I'm desperate.
So
I'm like, I'll take something. Just tell me what.
Or okay. So
no, because I was like down, I would say for like 24 days, 24 hours, I felt really yucky, and then I started feeling better. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what it is.
Okay. By the way, I have construction going on in my house. I don't know if you can hear that drilling and sawing. So if you can't hear me, that is fine. So this is my tip. I think that most sore throats occur because of allergy-related things, that you get this post-nasal drip and it drips to the back of your throat, especially when you're sleeping. So my advice for preventing sore throats is to take Zyrtec regularly, but before you go to bed, if you feel this coming on, to take either a Sudafed or something that dries you out. That way your drip is not going to the back of your throat. That's my non-educated doctor advice.
I was thinking more bigger picture. I feel like every bug that comes along gets me now. Whether it's 2 days or 2 hours, I just need to do
my body.
No, but now I'm sick of it, right? So I just want to start.
And you don't even have
I don't know
kids
if
that are like,
I feel like
factories bringing it to your house. So I don't even know if you have an excuse.
I do. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like in the beginning, I was like, okay, it's like lingering post-COVID, but then again, I don't know if I should use the word post because COVID still seems to be everywhere. I know. So it's like, I don't know. I just want to incorporate some healthier practices. Yeah. I mean, I hear so much about the elderberry syrup and they sell it for an arm and a leg, and I'm thinking, fine, I'll get it. And it sounds good, but does it work?
Yourself. I would talk to Jess from That's What She Fed. She's like very into all that stuff. There it is.
Oh, there's the drilling.
Myself at some point.
Well, then I'll just be talking to myself because sounds like Tracy's still soothing Tilly, and I don't know where I guessed it.
Jerol should be hopping on. I think he knows what to do. I gave him the briefing.
Listen, otherwise you and I will talk about life, and you can update us.
So you remember
I had
that artist loft upstairs where we had tenants living all throughout the time that we've been here. We've been here for just around 6 years. And we had this great additional space upstairs that was perfect for like a young couple. We had like a young college guy living there. And we just outgrew our house as a family. So at some point last year, we considered moving, and we put our house on the market, and we were going to move further towards the North Fork.
I remember you sharing because I was so stressed from my move, so I could totally feel your stress about the whole move.
First of all, If anybody has ever moved, you know that like getting your house ready for other people to look at is like a stress and a job in and of itself.
But here's the key, though. You said a very important word.
Yeah.
You said getting your house. I don't think you were ever really ready for it not to be your house.
Like the idea of selling it, and like once the offers started coming in, that's when I started to freak out. Like, wait, this is not going to be my house. Like all the work that I've done, all of like bringing my babies home to this house, like it's not going to be mine anymore. And that's when, yeah, I just wasn't ready. And then everything that I was seeing, if you remember at the time, the market last spring was just crazy. And like everything that I was seeing, yes, it was bigger because we do need more space, but it wasn't as nice as the house where I live now. So we were having this like catch-22. And then of course the market was nuts. So we find this house that was like, okay, it's decent and it's bigger and it's further out east, but there's a bidding war and it's going like for $75,000 over asking. So we were like freaking out.
Yeah, but I think your root still was more than buying. I think your root still was you weren't done with the house you currently live in. See, when I listed my house, there was a lot of stress, but I was kind of done. Well, I mean, I mourned it for 6 months, but I really was ready to let go of that space and move here. I think you had more visions for the space, and I guess hence you're redoing.
Yeah, I mean, we're
making it more of your own.
There's a lot of limitations in this house. Also, like financially, if we wanted to like really add on to it, it was going to be like almost building another house in terms of the cost, or like buying another house. So it's like, is it worth it?
Tracy can talk hours on this because she's been trying to retrofit the house she's in for her life, and it's so many challenges, right?
Sunita saw my most recent upgrade, which I am very excited about, and I have not shared on Instagram yet because there's a few more things I need to do. But when I moved in here, I felt like my bedroom, it felt like a college kid's bedroom, which ironically it was an 80-year-old man's bedroom, but it just felt unfinished. And I finally, after years of planning, got the crown molding put in and molding on the wall put in and repainted, and I'm going to get a new bed, and I'm going to reduce the amount of furniture that's in the space and really like feng shui the space. And I'm so excited to have like a real master bedroom, like of a grown-up.
For sure. I feel like any kind of home renovation project, like making your space your own in any kind of way, is so cathartic, and like making it what you want it to be from, you know, what it once was. Like, on
one hand, it's cathartic. On the other hand, having the nonstop dust, that's one issue. Second, and I don't know if other married couples have this issue, is coming to an agreement with what I want versus what my husband wants.
I'm very so lucky that I don't have that issue. Tracy doesn't have that issue. I make all the choices, and he just says, "Great job."
Oh my God. I mean, that helps accelerate the time frame, right? But because it's both our spaces, you know, it takes us a little longer.
Right.
So I feel like we end up in design paralysis for a long time before so there's that. There's so many layers, but when it's done, or even when it's in the process of being done, it's like, yay, let's go, something new. So what are you making? Office space
now,
up there?
My kids share a bedroom. We have 2 bedrooms on the main floor, and my kids share, which is fine because Riley is 7 and Patrick will be 4 next month. So they're still in a stage where this is like possible. But I know that very, very soon, because the bickering has already started, that they are not going to be able to share a space. So we put the stairs that were taken out of the interior of our home at some point in history, put them back in where they were. And then now we are going to leave the kids in the 2 bedrooms on the main floor, and Marty and I will just have like a giant master on the second. So, yeah.
Oh, but then that could be an office. That could be
Jerol's
texting
me. Will I be
awesome. Tracy, how's
She's
Dylan
okay.
feeling?
I mean, she doesn't have a fever anymore, which is good, but I'm pretty sure her molars are coming in. And this morning, it was almost like she was still sleeping, like she was having a night terror, because I was picking, you know, I was holding her, and she would kind of open her eyes, and then she would just start screaming and screaming, and then pass out, and then start screaming and screaming and screaming and pass out. So when I finally kind of really woke her up, she was like, "Oh, hello."
I mean, I don't know if did she have a fever this morning? I've only had one of my kids only once in their lifetime have a high fever and then have terrors because of it. And it was the scariest because I didn't know what to do. I literally thought I needed to call 911. And I called the pediatrician and he was like, it's pretty normal for a high fever. Just put a warm cloth, cool them down. But it was scary to have them screaming. Yeah. And not know what to do.
The last week, this has sort of been happening. Like even when one day the babysitter took her out of the crib and brought her in here, and it was the lunchtime nap, and my assistant and I were here, and we were all three of us were talking to Tilly, but like it was kind of clear she wasn't awake. Like she was whining and crying, and we were all kind of going like, "Do you see us?" Like,
I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the way she's just. I'm listening to you, but she's just like, la, la, la.
She started using a fork, but she can only use it if I take it and do this, and then she wants to feed herself. But now she doesn't want to feed herself without the fork because she's so independent. So she's looking around. I'm pretty sure the fork's on the floor, but that's okay, with 1,000 blueberries.
I love how far you've come. Fork's on the floor. You're just going to pick it up, give it to her. Let's go.
Up the floor and give it to her.
Gone are the days when we were boiling the fork before we have to put it back up. I know, but you know what? It is what it is. You can only like prevent so many, unless it's, you know, in a space where you feel
I can
like,
hear you guys. I don't know if you like were able to see me.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, okay.
I see Jerol trying to join in. I guess from
that's fine.
But he's trying to join in from his personal account. Is that what you're doing? Okay, let me go. I didn't know if he wanted to come in as Lenz, but as long as he's here, that sounds great.
Hi, Jerol.
Well, let's hope this works.
I made it. Sorry about that.
We always have tech issues. It would be a full live show without some kind of, so.
I follow everything except what was supposed to be followed. Okay, we made it. Nice to see you this morning.
Good morning.
I am, yes. I'm an early riser, so I thought it would be better to get up here and figure, you know, why not go live from the winery?
Yeah, great.
Wait, Jerol, before we get into like any wine stuff, can you tell us about your background and everything that you've been involved in? Because you're such a wealth of knowledge.
Sure. I grew up in California in the Bay Area outside of San Francisco. Sociology, psychology is my background. I used to be a litigation consultant, and that's what moved me to New York City in 2009. And I was lucky enough to be one of the early onset work from home companies. And it brought me from California to Nashville and ultimately to New York.
What a journey.
But in 2010, they said, you know, we need everyone to come into the office. And I was already living out here in wine country, which is a complete surprise. When I moved to New York, I didn't know that there was a wine country on Long Island. So I just didn't want to sit on a train for 2 hours each way. So I started, I came to Lenz and I asked if I could volunteer to work in the winery, learn a little bit more about wine. Interesting enough, living in the Bay Area, I enjoyed a lot of wine, but I didn't really know a lot about it. So I started working here a couple days a week, and one thing led to the other. And over the last 14 seasons, I'm now the general manager and help promoting this wonderful winery that we're celebrating our 45th year this year. So just everyone's excited on staff. I think we have, especially coming off the pandemic, which seems like it's been 3 years long, you know, I think it's perfect timing to be celebrating our 45th year. We have a renewed energy. Everyone's excited. We have a lot of different activities coming up. I also sit on the board for the Long Island Wine Council as one of the executive members, and it's our 50th anniversary. So, yeah, who would have known 50 years ago, just by planting one vineyard, it was going to be what it is today.
Amazing. So, Jerol, just to go back to like your journey, like did you ever think you were going to end up here from like where you started?
No, I didn't. I have a large family in Nashville, and I had met someone in Nashville that was born and raised in Nashville. Their family was in construction, and they were building houses in the Hamptons. They kind of got contracts. And so I visited a couple times throughout early 2009 and really enjoyed it coming out here. I mean, it's just a beautiful countryside. So I decided to make the move. And I haven't looked back. I've really, when I lived in Nashville, I was a little homesick for California. I really missed it. But I feel like the North Fork has a little bit of everything. We have the water views, we have the wine country, we have a lot of the farm stands, which you could, pick up your meal on your way home and source it locally, which is fantastic.
I want to just touch on something that you said, Jerol, which is that you started what is your current career by volunteering. And that is also my history as well. I found my passion by volunteering also. And it's when anyone ever does like an informational interview with me and says, how do I get started? I always say, whatever you think you're interested in, volunteer. Because what you do, the people around you are going to want to hire you. And you'll have to figure out if it's what you want to do or not. Yeah, and
I knew that I liked wine, but I had no idea that it was going to unlock the passion that I have for it now. I went back to get my sommelier certificate. I kind of dove in a little bit. And I think in the beginning, I was, telling everyone like, oh, I'm very new. Let me make sure I, do a lot of fact checking. But what's really nice is when you really love something, it's just so easy to talk about.
One of the things I love about the Long Island wine country, and I'm sure it's true for California, but I'm noticing on the Long Island wine country and the wine council is, yes, it's about the wine and it's about the drinking the wine, but it's also a lot about the education of wine and the growing of the grapes and the agricultural part of the winemaking.
I think when I started here back in early 2010, we are still trying to find our identity. And I think for us on the North Fork, just getting the word out about how great our wines were, we were doing a lot of comparisons, oh, this wine is very similar to a French Bordeaux style. And what I've learned and what we've really come into on the North Fork, we're settling in and we're finding our own flavors and our own identity. And we're no longer doing these comparisons. We talk about the short growing season, but we're insulated in the winter by the warm waters, and opposite in the summer, we have the cool breezes, and it's really a unique flavor profile that's happening here on the North Fork. So we're starting to now talk about just our own identity and the flavors that you get, and using the sun path to ripen our grapes. And we have everything from those dry, crisp whites to full-bodied reds. And especially at Lenz, our Cabernets used to be a little bit softer and really juicy, and we still do have that style. But we're amazed at some of the vintages like our 2015, 2017, of just how full-bodied our Cabernet Sauvignons are becoming, maybe due to a little bit of global warming. But we're able to stretch our season a little bit and ripen our grapes and get a lot out of it.
And Jerol, who knows, maybe in 50 years when the new wine country somewhere else starts, they're going to be comparing themselves to the North Fork.
Absolutely.
So really setting the standard here. Who would have thought we would be, so far ahead of the game in terms of really changing the wine world?
It's very exciting, and New York, we've become the third largest producer in United States. And our wines, even from the North Fork, we have a lot of wines that are rated by Robert Parker, 91, 92, 93. We hold a 94-point rating for our 2010 Old Vines Merlot. And it's just a matter of time before those ratings are over 95, 97. I mean, who knows? I think we'll have a 100-point wine, so the national recognition is just fantastic for such a small community that all works together. It's amazing.
Jerol, to piggyback off of that, do you want to talk a little bit about the library wine tasting that's coming up at Lenz?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for that.
Sure.
So, Lenz has always prided ourselves on aging our wines and releasing them when they're ready to drink. And we also have, a library, a magnum format, which will slowly age the wine, slower than your average 750. And we started producing some pretty amazing wines, at least that we thought in early 90s that our winemaker and vineyard manager really came together and was able to get the best quality fruit ripening into our vineyard. And our winemaker just excelled through the winemaking process. And we've always put, behind our wines that, these wines can age for 20, 30 years. And now we're going back and we're tasting these wines, and we tasted our library wines that date back to 1997, and we were just blown away at how much youth they still have, and the fruit was still present. So we're opening our library vault this March 4th. There's a couple different options that you could join in to do a tasting, but we're going to do a tastings of 97s, wines from 2001, 2002, 2007. We even have a 2010 Cuvée sparkling wine recently disgorged. We're just really happy to show all of those wines were, again, rated 91, 92, 93, 94 points. So we're just happy to share that with everyone, and to, it's a great lesson on how well wines could actually age, not in particular just from our region here.
Mm-hmm. We have a question from someone who's asking that they heard that Long Island wines require excessive use of sulfites, which is always a concern for me. So I'm curious if that's true at all and how it applies to Lenz.
So Lenz, actually, there is a natural sulfite that happens in the ripening process of the grapes, but for us in particular, we don't actually add any extra sulfites to our wines to age them for us. So I think that you would, I don't necessarily agree with that. It depends on, there are some practices where people will add sulfites, but most of the time it's because they want to put the wine away and age it for a while. And that will dissipate over times. But we do have a, higher acidity in our wines, in the white wines, that keeps them fresh and crisp. But I don't think in comparative, especially at Lenz, it's more fruit forward, less sulfites in our wine.
Yeah, and I would just add to that in terms of answering it from a more broader Long Island wine perspective. I know of several other vineyards. Macari, for example, does not add anything to their wines, no sulfates, whatever. So that may be a statement specific to some vineyard that's doing it, but it's definitely not a general statement.
Yeah, I agree.
Another person who's listening said, having lived here for 35 years on Long Island, it's so encouraging to see the wine industry grow and develop, especially Lenz. So it's good to hear that.
Yes, thank you for that.
Going back,
I want to hear about the tasting room, because I want to hear about the logo
and also
the windows.
So let's go into
that
whole thing about Lenz.
Sure. So Lenz is the second eldest winery on the North Fork. It was originally planted by the Lenz family in 1978. So we were planted in early 1978, 5 years after the very first winery was planted. The Lenz family, coming from Germany, actually wanted to plant in California, and they were kind of in sticker shock because, as you could imagine, the vineyards that were started there in the 50s and 60s that were starting to thrive, it really drove the prices up of vineyards. So they actually encountered the Hargrave family on a research trip out in Napa. And they said, you can't afford anything here. Don't get discouraged. We're actually planted a vineyard on the North Fork, and you should check it out. So they did. They took the advice. They came here. They fell in love with the Krupski Potato Farm, which is our tasting room is the original potato barn that used to house the potatoes. Dates back to 1901 is the earliest documentation that we could find. They retrofitted, if I could get a picture of the windows up there. So they put the windows in, and they insulated from the outside, so it kept the integrity of the potato barn. But those same windows have become our logo for the Lenz winery. As you enter our courtyard, we have the same windows there. And the Carroll family, Peter and Deborah, and their three daughters, Meredith, Lindsay, and Allison, they purchased the property in 1988, and they've kept the tradition going. So we have a lot of the Bordeaux bridal grapes. In fact, we have 19 different labels of wine. We don't always have them produced every year, but we have anything from rosés to sparkling rosés, all the way up to the dry crisp whites into full-bodied reds.
Yeah, I mean, just interacting with the Carroll family who owns the Lenz, you can tell that they're just so invested in the property, and each and every one of them holds like a very special place for the property in their heart. So it's so nice to see that it's still so family oriented and family operated. And Jerol's like part of the family.
Yeah, it
right?
feels like it. Yeah, it absolutely does. You know, we all work really well together. We enjoy each other's company. It's just a really fun atmosphere, and we're just all enjoying what we do, which makes it a really fun day to come to work.
Jerol, as a person who, sorry, I have drilling going on in my house, so if you hear it. As a person who maybe has never come to visit Lenz, what would you suggest as like their first kind of intro to visiting Lenz?
You know, we're having a lot of fun this year. We're excited for our 45th year. So we've added a lot of experiences. So, you know, I think some people might be intimidated by the tasting or coming to a winery. In fact, we get so many people that said, you know, I drive by Lenz all the time, but the wine industry has become such a big deal and I don't know anything about wine. So I never want to stop in. So we've added things like paint and sip night. We have a succulent workshop coming up. We have a paint your chocolate. You know, so we're trying to bring experiences that are more fun and interactive that people might relate to come to Lenz. But, you know, again, we want to take the intimidation away. You know, we want to greet you when you come in the door. My recommendation is to do a tasting. You know, we will provide as much education. And, you know, wine is so personal. It's really based on your own life experiences and different flavor profiles. So, you know, if we try to tell someone our Gewürztraminer tastes like lychee and they've never had that fruit, they're not going to get it. So it's such a diverse community and flavors and profiles that I find that a lot of people, once they get here and everything's so relaxed, it's not as intimidating as they would think. We added the igloos this year, just as another winter experience that they could have. Our fire pits are actually still out and going because what a mild winter we've had.
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing.
It has.
Carol, I also want to add that Lenz, I think, in my opinion, is one of the most dog-friendly vineyards.
Yes, everyone at Lenz owns a dog. We bring our dogs to work regularly. I personally have 4 dogs. So that was something that we never wanted to do away with. And we actually do. I mean, we have dog water bowls. It's if you bring a dog here, there's at least 4 or 5 staff members that are going to pet that dog and daunt on that dog. So we do like to see the furry pets as well.
I mean, I think one of the most, not best kept secret, but part of the best kept secret of the North Fork is that it really is casual. I mean, you could go to the fanciest restaurant here in flip-flops if you wanted to. So for somebody that's intimidated by coming into a vineyard, I mean, you're tasting in a potato barn.
Yeah, and you know, we do most of our tastings, you know, the winter is the only time that we're inside in this barn. It's a beautiful barn. It's nice and cozy, but 80% of our tastings are done outside in our courtyard. It's such a relaxed, serene environment. You know, it's really beautiful. We've added a lot of picnic tables. We have a nice grass area. We encourage people to walk the vineyard. You know, we're not afraid of having people out there and, you know, touching the leaves of the vines and, you know, taking the photos. That's
calling.
Yeah.
Tracy, let's go. That's calling my name. I can see.
Yeah, I mean, share at Lenz Wine. But, you know, we also have one of the most gorgeous sunsets that I've ever seen on the North Fork, which is really nice because a lot of the times it coincides with the last hour that we're working. And, you know, once we lock the doors and everyone's gone, our staff will, you know, go out there and enjoy a taste together and just watch the beauty of the North Fork and the sunset over the vineyard.
Absolutely does have the most gorgeous courtyard where you can just sit and relax and you don't have to feel like you're in anywhere pretentious. And the outside area at Lenz, there's just so many like cute nooks to sit in that you can go multiple times and sit in like a different part and feel like you're in a new, you know, having a new experience. So it's definitely a place to go multiple times. You can bring your dog, you can feel relaxed. It's one of those places where you just feel welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Well,
earlier in the comments, I don't want to skip over this. Somebody had asked, Jerol, since you have the insider scoop, what's going on for the 50th for the Long Island Wine Council?
All right, we are going to release information very soon, but I can tell you we're working with a PR firm and an events coordinator to help us just get everything off the ground. But we're looking to start in May or June. We're going to have a kickoff series event that starts in New York City to, you know, get the fans encouraged and excited to come out. And August is going to be the big celebration. We're going to have a whole week of celebrations leading up to the big finale event that's going to be right here in the North Fork. If you want to save the date, we're targeting August 19th. So it hasn't been released yet, but I can tell you that. Yeah. Yeah, everyone, like, save the date. It's going to be such an amazing time. We're going to have, every winery is going to be able to do something on their own, but we're also going to have events. We're doing things very similar to the Lenz Dinner in the Vines, which this is the first year we're bringing it back this year after 3 years, which is very exciting. But we want to do 10-mile dinners where, you know, everything is sourced within 10 miles. So the wine, the ingredients to make your meal, partner with local chefs out here.
That I've never, you know, we hear about farm to table all the time on North Fork, but like within 10 miles, that's really cool. And
we're very fortunate that we could do that. I mean, within 10 miles, we have the sea, the land, the vegetables. Yeah. Everything. Yeah.
For sure. Very cool. So there's a lot to look forward to. Tracy, do you want to kick off our NOFO Live 5?
Yes, I do, because Tilly has to go. I know. So if you were to take us to lunch, Jerol, where would you pick to take us out?
All right. So in the summertime, we have Fortino's Tavern in Greenport, right on the wharf there. I love the North Fork Table and Inn. Legends is a staple. But this year, a lot of the wineries are, or this season, I should say, they all hibernate. So I'd have to say this time of year, if I was going to take you out to lunch, I'd kick it back to an old staple of the North Fork and go to the Cooperage Inn, home of the chicken pot pie, which, you know, I love comfort food this time of year. Yeah. So, you know, you can't go wrong. It's a very intimate setting. It's classic. The food is amazing. That's where I would take you.
All right. I'm going to ask you this question. Okay. You ready for it? What's your favorite vineyard?
I do have to tell you, and I'm not going to, my very first visit here when I found out that it was wine country, I went to 4 different vineyards, and Lenz was my second vineyard. And we went to the third one and it was fine, but we came back to Lenz. I said, let's just go back to Lenz. We had a really nice time. So Lenz quickly became one of my favorites. I have to shout out to Peconic and Macari. I really do like their wines a lot too.
So now, Jerol, I wanted to ask that question, Sanita. Jerol, so when I feel like you're always at the vineyard, but when you have a chance to visit a farm stand to get your produce and maybe make a meal, what's your go-to farm stand?
It's a tough question because there's so many. I tend to go to Andrew's Family Farms in Bating Hollow the most. It's such a great family. You know, you get out of your car, someone recognizes you, they tell you what's really fresh. And what's really nice about Andrew's is they've also started sourcing from local boats that go out and catch fresh seafood. So you could really make a full meal on your way home. They have fresh scallops. Sometimes they have the local fluke right there in their farm stand. They partner with Good Ale Farms and for cheese. So you could really have a full meal on your way home.
The NOFO Live crew is really like dwindling here. Tracy's got baby issues. Anita's coughing. All right, I'm gonna ask the next question, even though this is Anita's usually her go-to. So we talked about the amazing sunsets at Lenz overlooking the vines, which I absolutely adore. What's your second favorite sunset spot or sunrise spot? Are you a sunset guy or a sunrise guy?
So I do rise early, especially in the spring and summer. I like to run, and I live in Wading River. So, you know, we don't get the best sunrises on the North Fork. I feel like I always see them coming through trees in the distance, and it's really pretty if you have an open field farm that you're running by. But my second favorite sunset would have to be at La Plage Restaurant. There's a little beach in Wading River, and if you time it just right, having a couple drinks at the bar.
Again. I see the writing.
It's until now it was the best kept secret, but it really is.
Been there, Jerol. I really would love to go there.
I think you should. Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful, it's right across the street from the beach. And so you could time it perfectly, take a little beach walk before you have your reservation. I know there's a big debate. Questions have been asked before, like where does the North Fork start? And I have to say that I always say that the North Fork, it starts in Wading River. If I don't have to leave Sound Avenue and I could make my way through a back road to get to a beach that is on the North Shore, that's the North Fork for me. I saw in the comments the Halyard. That is a very beautiful spot as well. I have to say, when I do, sometimes because I live a little more west, when I get off work, I just want to head west. But if I do sit and think about it and want to make a plan, I will go to the Halyard to see the sunset as well.
Well, Jerol, thank you so much for joining us today. We usually close the show by asking everyone what they love about being part of the North Fork community.
That's a great question. I feel, you know, when I first moved here, you know, I didn't have many friends. I didn't know anyone here. And I felt so welcomed right off the bat, especially in the wine community. And it just grew from there. Everyone, it's such a tight-knit community, but everyone's supporting everyone. We work a lot closely with the farmers and the restaurants, and everyone's just promoting, you know, the great, wonderful life it is here. And I just think that community is very important. And just seeing a place where everything comes together, and not only in a magical setting, but just with mind-like people, it's just, how could you not be anything but proud to be part of it? Yes.
Well, thank you, Jerol, so much for joining us.
Anytime.
And sharing all about Lenz Wines. I love that it's family owned, family operated, and it really does feel like you guys are a big family there. So I can't wait to
please do.
Check out
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jerol. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.